Why are you washing my feet? This feels so strange. The question's been asked time and time again. Why are people washing people's feet? What's going on in the Super Bowl? What's going on in my life? And why would anybody wash someone else's feet? Come on now. Is this kind of crazy for anybody else to be thinking about right now? Well, let's talk about it today on the WDEX podcast. Let's go. And that's it. That's the hype. That's what I put out this morning. My new countdown intro. Super want to thanks to Hunter Brown, my videographer, editor. He is an amazing man. He was one of my first phone calls almost 5 years ago when I decided to become Wired Differently Todd, and he's been with me along my side through thick and thin, from COVID to you name it, his life, my life. So thank you. And we're working on an outro, so stand by for that. So good morning, everybody. Good day everywhere, all over the world. I'm so grateful to have you following the show and supporting me. And we have so many great things happening with this mindset, mission, ministry, and movement called Wired Differently. Now, today is an interesting day. We're following up yesterday in this whole idea, what's going on with the NFL? What is this conspiracy? Is it true that Christians are invading our NFL, our football team? Are they not going woke? What is going on with the NFL? And so that's how I started things off yesterday. And I started talking about creating a little bit of a rumor, right? Like, there's a conspiracy theory going on in the NFL, and that the God is infiltrating the game of football. Well, it's not a conspiracy. It's just the truth. It's just this idea that there's an organization called He Gets Us that I've been able to be a part of and get to meet the owners, or the beginning, and the marketing people and all that. And I'm proud to be able to wave that banner and say I'm part of that following of He Gets Us. And here's the thing: He Gets Us is basically this group of people and followers now that have raised a lot of money to say, hey man, why doesn't Jesus have his own marketing department? Now, that's not how they probably put it, but they have just decided to put their money out there and to share God with the world. And where else would you want to share God with the world if we're called to evangelize than at the largest sporting event the world has ever had? Now, I suppose FIFA would argue with that a little bit, but the Super Bowl is clearly our Super Bowl, and it's the biggest event. When anyone says this is the Super Bowl, it's the biggest event. And so the movement of He Gets Us has decided to unleash, unveil, and show the world their marketing campaigns for Christ. And what they're doing is representing Christ as one of us, one of you, me, an everyday person, and how He represented Himself and why He came to this world to share the story of God and the gospel, and that He is the Messiah. He is God in the flesh, and that the prophecies have been fulfilled. And this is Christ. This is the Christ that is here with all of us to be shared. And I actually yesterday called him the first diversity project manager, the first diversity equality person to ever walk the planet, because that's why Jesus came here, right? He came here to make everybody equal, to create love for everybody, to have everybody have the option to go to heaven, to have everybody be treated the same. And so He gets us, man, right? So before I start the show out, though, because I'm still reeling with that great intro, man, thanks, Hunter. It just pumps me up. I always like to start the show with a little story. I don't know, this isn't a downer, but I just want to be relatable with you. And I think that this message is so powerful from yesterday and today and what we're carrying on, that I think that I'm being challenged. And I just wanted to just share this with any of you out there. I was shaken last night. So what does that mean to be shaken? Well, I mean, I was shaken. I was rattled. And I truly believe it's because I'm talking about feet washing. I truly believe it's because my mind, my subconscious, the image God made me of him in me, in the world peace that I'm walking around in, and the things that we have to deal with on the reg are in us. And when I get out there in front so hard and I start to talk about God and I start to talk about my life and how it's affected me, the goods, the bads, the difficulties, the funds, and then I start to kind of preach a little heavier. Like, this feet washing is no joke, bro. I mean, like feet washing is a very uncomfortable thing. And we're going to talk about that today. We're going to talk about what it means to have feet washing. We're going to talk about how that is in what we're going to be able to do. So I wanted to share this story real quickly, that I was rattled before the teaching. I was shaken. I was stirred. No, it's not a James Bond movie. It's not a martini. I'm just talking about my soul, my being. And I don't know why Bill Maher, let's call him the Maher. I don't know why he's even on my Facebook scroll at all. I try to slow the scroll, but this dude popped up last night, and I'm preparing for this message. I'm preparing for the morning. I'm preparing for all the things that it's like I have a whole life after this show, but it doesn't seem like it sometimes. And so my mind, I watched the Maher, and he was debating some dude on his show whether the Christ is real or not. And the Maher just really whittled away and laughed at our faith. He laughed at the concoction of this Jesus character. He laughed at the concoction of Paul and the apostles. He just literally demeaned the guy that stood toe to toe with the Maher and defended the gospel, defended the authenticity and the truth of Christ and the story of the Bible. And they sparred for, it seemed like 1,000,000 years for me. And why I was listening and why I continued to listen is beyond me. But it just shook me. Because some of the things that the Maher said had validity. And everything that the man was putting back at the Maher had validity as well. And I don't think it's a coincidence that those things are resonating with me right now. I think it's how our subconscious works. I think we're drawn to things that we're serious about. We're drawn to things that we're meditating and praying about. We're drawn to those things. They rise to the surface. And the Maher, I can't blame the Maher. I don't care for the Maher. But I will tell you this. The verse that was given to me this morning was Matthew 5, 43 and 44. And it says, love your enemies, pray for those who persecute you. I mean, I'm loaded for bear today. This always happens, man. I got the 3 steps that helps us distinguish ourselves in the world. I'm going to teach on that. I've got the feet washing stories. I got John 13, 1 through 17. I got Luke 7. I got all these stories. I'm going to paraphrase them, and I'm going to have fun with you, and I'm going to teach you. But why does God drop this on me? Why does the Maher pop up? Why am I shaken, rattled, and twisted a little bit? Why is this happening to me? Because I'm dropping this on you tomorrow morning when you wake up. Top 5, Matthew 5, 43, 44. Love your enemies, pray for those who persecute you. Heavenly Father, I pray for the Maher. I pray for the man. I pray for the man that he sees you. I pray for the man that he can at least understand that we have the right to feel and think the way we want to think and feel. Lord, I pray that you enter his life, Christ, and you let him see you. And give us all the equality to love this world the way God has chose Christ to come here and share of us as diversity, king of this world and kingdom. So I pray for the mar. In Jesus' name, amen. All right. I did what I was asked to do. I have done what God has asked me to do. I have followed Matthew 5:43-44. I have followed the track. So let's get this show on.
Preview.
Todd is not only a remarkable, successful 30-year titan in business with having multiple businesses that generate multiplied millions of dollars.
And if that plan happens to be to build $1 million company, which I can help you do.
But he's humble. He's a man of God. He's a family man.
The world's news organizations are built on everything but positivity.
He is an influential entrepreneur and business figure for over 30 years.
I've got to forecast. I've got to pronounce. I've got to project. I've got to share with you my ideas, my vision, my goals for not only myself, but for you.
That's why he's came up with his incredible concept of taking and creating a platform for people that are wired differently.
And you got to understand that your habits of your person and your habits of your business and your habits of your spirituality have to lead to the North Star of who you are. We need to figure out who we want to be in life.
So here we are. We just prayed for the mar. We just prayed for those who persecute us. We are in a situation now, God, to follow, I guess, the calling that you've put before us. Like, I'm just this dude, right? The wired differently. You know, Chad and Chris were putting some things together for me, and Chad did a video the other day, and it's like, and the keynote speaker on March 2nd will be Wired Differently, Todd Saylor. And I loved how he said wired differently, Todd Saylor. I said, you know, let's put the brand in front of my name instead of the name in front of the brand, because I really believe that the mindset, mission, movement, and ministry of Wired Differently is really what this is all about. I mean, it's like, how do you share the gospel? How do you forward the good things in your life? You've been asked to coach. Well, if you can't coach your belief structure, then you won't be successful the way I feel I was successful. And so that's where this calling of the mindset, mission, ministry, and movement is coming. And by the way, our movement is clearly to spread the gospel. Our movement is not a new movement, but the way we're doing is to wear it on our sleeves, to wear it on our shirts, to wear it on our back, to be raging fans of God, to be raging fans of our religion, our ability to share the two components of what the Bible has called us to do: train the saints and equip and evangelize, train the saints and find the lost, train the saints and save the lost. Get the message out there. Just two things: train and equip. Train and save the lost. So if we want to teach, we have to teach. We have to teach to grow the church. And if we want to evangelize, we have to go out and tell the gospel. And the Wired Differently piece of this is doing both. I'm training and equipping on my show on a reg, and I'm also going out there and I'm evangelizing by sharing God's will, word, and wisdom through our brand Wired Differently. So when you wear this shirt, you're wearing a shirt that says, man, I want to be like Christ. I want to be like God wants me to be. I want to be a misfit. I don't want to be a regular earthling walking around this world. I want to be not of this world, and I want to show my colors because I'm not the same. I'm wired differently. That's the movement. It's not about Todd Saylor. It's the Wired Differently movement. Ministry and mindset and mission. So what's this feet washing thing all about? I kind of want to get to it. And so I'm going to teach it in two parts. I'm just going to review yesterday real quick, and then we're going to dive into the second part of what yesterday. So there was two things that I wanted to share with you about distinguishing who we are and how we distinguish our misfitness, how we distinguish that we are wired differently. What is it about us that sets us apart? What is our market dominating position as Christians? So you say, what is a market dominating position, Todd? Well, that's business talk. Well, that's business talk because it's spiritual business talk too. I mean, we need to be in a market dominating position. We want to be able to stand out in a crowd. We want to be able to stand out from those who are out there. We don't want to blend in. We don't want to be like everybody else in the world, right? God didn't call us to be that way. He called us to be separated, not from people, but to separate ourselves from our belief structures and make it clear of how his love is worked on us, and not just for us, but for everyone. Listen, I know I got some followers here, lefty, loosies, righty, tighties. I got liberals, I got conservatives, I got some Muslims, I've got some Hinduism. I've got several people out there, and I know some of them are rooting for me, and some of them are saying, man, what do you mean? I said, Christ came for everybody. Everybody. He said, I'm here for everybody. Matter of fact, that's what got him in all the trouble. Come on now, somebody. What I'm trying to explain to you is that the Jewish people thought he only came back for their faith. And when a Jewish boy born of a Jewish carpenter comes up and says, no, man, I'm not here just for you. I'm here for the Gentiles. I'm here for the Romans, right? I'm here for the pagans. I'm here for everybody to come under me to unite the world. I came on a donkey, not a white stallion. Come on now. It's as clear as can be, right? And so what I want to challenge you with today is this idea of how we separate ourselves, because we're not like everybody else. We're much more accepting. We're supposed to be. We're much more forgiving. We're supposed to be. We're much more friendly. We're supposed to be. Right? And just as I prayed for the Mar in the first half of this, I got a thing with the Mar. I'm praying about it. I prayed openly. I don't know that he's going to be praying for me, but I prayed for him today. Come on, Mar. I did. I prayed for him. But here's the deal. So in Romans 12:10 yesterday, we talked about this verse. It says, be devoted to each other with brotherly affection. Give preference to one another in honor. Now, the reason I picked that out is because Paul wrote the letter to the Romans. And in that letter, he said this about the tribe, the misfitness of us all. He is speaking to those gathered, united under the Christly front. You got to remember, Paul was a Roman soldier. He killed a lot of Christians. He converted his life. And now he's going to Spain, supposedly. And on the way to Spain, he wants to stop off in Rome and say, hey, bros, I heard your church is kicking some tail. And I wanted to preach a little bit and say, and boost the troops, right? Oh, really? Paul's coming. Well, Paul's not really just coming to Rome. He's a homecoming. He knows all too well the Jewish faith. He knows all too well the Roman pagan faith. He knows too well that some people aren't going to be happy with him. So he's encouraging the troops in Rome who put up a fight to create Christianity in the bowels of the beast. And he says, listen, be devoted to each other, man. Come on. It's like this football huddle where every down we'd always go back and lock arms or hold hands, and we would get to play together. And we were like, man, let's be devoted to each other in a brotherly way, in affection. Like we would hold hands in the huddle. We would like hold hands. We'd put our arms around each other. We were devoted to each other in that huddle in a brotherly, affectionate way. Now give preference to one another in honor. Now, listen, anytime something happened on that football field that caused divisiveness between us and the other team, we would always honor our brother in the huddle, even if we didn't like him off the field. And that is the phileo love, the version of agape love that God is talking about right there. And that's one way that we distinguish ourselves in this world from others. But this washing of feet thing, now, come on. This is what's going on here. Let's play a video, and we're going to talk about the difference between what Paul's talking about in Rome, right, and what's actually going on now in feet washing.
Don't ask me what you know is true. Don't have to tell you I love your precious heart. I was standing you were there. Two worlds collided, and they could never tear us apart. We can live for 1,000 years.
Great video. Great story, the feet washing. So here's what we're going to do today. We're going to talk about feet washing. So the reason I spend so much time on Paul and Romans in being devoted to each other within the tribe is to set you up for this piece we're going to talk about right now. Because although we are called to have affection and brotherly love within our tribe, there's a greater calling than even loving our tribe. And we did it. We demonstrated in the beginning of the show, as much as I wasn't exactly comfortable with it, I know that I'm called to pray for the mar. Because Matthew says in 5:43-44, love your enemies, but pray for those who persecute you. The mar persecuted me last night in the video, and he shook me, he rattled me, right? And so a lot going on in this message today, but I want you to resonate with what I'm talking about. I want you to know that I'm a regular guy. I'm going through this, and I know you're going through it. And I know some of you out there are searching, and some of you are trying to find flaws in what I'm having to say. I don't have a problem with it. I just want you to watch. I want you to be a part of it. I want you to learn. I want you to bounce back. I want you to be with me on this Wired Differently trip, because it is a trip. So here's what happens on the flip side. It was just before the Passover feast. Jesus knew that he had time to come to the world. Having loved his own were in the world, he now showed them a full extent of his love. This evening meal to be served to the devil already prompted Judas Iscariot, Simon, to betray Jesus. Jesus knew that the Father had put it all to things under his power, and that he had come from God and was returning to God. So he got up from the meal. So this is the Last Supper, right? He got up from the meal and he took off his outer clothing, right? He took off his outer clothing. We're going to talk about that. And he wrapped a towel around his waist. Why would he wrap a towel around his waist? After that, he poured water into a basin and began to wash his disciples' feet, drying them with the towel that was wrapped around him, the same towel that was wrapped around him. He came to Simon Peter and said to him, Lord, are you going to wash my feet? Jesus replied, you do not realize now what I'm doing, but later you will understand. No, said Peter, you shall never wash my feet. Jesus answered, unless I wash you, you have no part with me. Well, Peter said, then Lord, Simon Peter replied, not just my feet, but my hands and my head as well. Jesus answered, a person who's had taken a bath needs only to wash his feet. His whole body is clean, and you are clean. Though not every one of you in this room, for he knew who was going to betray him, and that was why he said not everyone is clean. When he had finished washing their feet, he put on his clothes and returned to his place at the table. Do you understand what I have done for you? He asked. You call me teacher and Lord, and rightly so, for that I am what I am. Now that I am your Lord and teacher, have washed your feet, you also should wash another's feet. I have set an example that you should do, and I have done for you. I tell you the truth, no servant is greater than a master, and no messenger is greater than the one who sent them. Now you know these things, and you will be blessed, and you do them. All right, so that's the account of John, chapter 13, 1-17, of Jesus washing feet. Now, listen, I have to read it from the Bible because that's the mouth of God. That is the breath of God. That is ruach. That's the Spirit of God. But really, basically, I want to paraphrase what's going on here. Jesus is at the Last Supper. We've all heard about the Last Supper. He knows that he's going to go die and be crucified, and his life is going to be staked at the cross. It's going to brutal ending, right? But before that, he gathers all his most coveted 12 disciples, and he teaches them this one last lesson, and it is to wash other people's feet. So what I want to tell you about washing feet, though, is before Jesus is washing feet in a metaphor here in this ecosystem of the way life is supposed to be and the way Jesus wants people to leave this is the last impression Jesus ever did. This is the last miracle. This, other than the resurrection, this is really the last thing he did to prove that he's real and his identity is who he is. This is it. And he chooses to wash his disciples' feet. Well, imagine if you were living, 1,000 years ago, and there's just horses and trails, no pavement, just dirt roads, sandals and barefooted people. It was customary whenever you went into someone's house, right? You went into their house, they would probably have a servant there if they were in that position. And before you could walk through their house, you would sit down and they would wash your feet, one, because they wanted you to have clean feet walking through their house, but they also wanted to serve you and show you that they had a servant that's there to do these type of things for them. So what's going on here is a practical purpose for feet washing. Also, there is this piece of showiness, if you will. Only the rich, only the really uber wealthy back in the day would have servants washing other people's feet for them. And so I think Jesus really was down with the people on this last, and he was really, really next level when he sat there at the last table, and the last thing he did was, let me wash your feet. And here's the thing, Peter pushed back on the feet washing. Everybody else, to our knowledge, has said, okay, wash my feet, Jesus. But Peter's like, no, you're too good to wash my feet. And Jesus said, if you don't let me wash your feet, then you're not part of me. Then he says, well, if you're going to wash my feet, wash all my body. I want to be immersed in all of you. And Jesus says, let's not overdo it. Paul, Peter, you're always like that. You always go too far. I know a guy like that. I wonder if they laughed when he says, bathe my whole body. I wonder if they're all like cutting up, like Shaq and Charles Barkley, and they cut up. Like, I just kind of feel like that was a moment where, like, come on, Peter, just let him wash your feet. So Jesus washes his feet, right? And so this is an incident where Jesus was really showing he was taking the role of servant. The towel around his waist was what a servant would do. He didn't have to put the towel around his waist. He could have set it on the table, but no, he went into full role of a servant. He sold out, man. He said, I am your servant. I'm your God, I'm your Lord, and I'm here to serve you. So he took his robe off, put it around his waist, and he began to wash everybody's feet. And the reason I really feel compelled to put Matthew 5:43-44 in here, love your enemies and pray for those who persecute you. Here's really why I put the story of the shaken, the rattle, the mar prayer story in here, is because you got to understand that of those 12 disciples, one of them was Judas Iscariot, literally the guy Jesus knew that was going to betray him and have him murdered within hours of this feet washing dinner. Jesus more than prayed for Judas Iscariot. He scrubbed his feet. Pretty powerful when you think about the symbolism. Pretty powerful when it comes to this whole idea of washing feet. And so when you ask yourself, what is this feet washing about, right? When you ask yourself, why would I do this? Why would a grandson wash a grandfather's feet? Why would a possibly homeless or a gang member let a police officer wash his feet? Why would a popular person maybe wash someone else's feet? Why would a daughter or a friend in the neighborhood take care of a cracked out, strung out, possibly mother? Why would an aborted child from a mother have her feet washed from another Christian person I mean, I got to understand this man is a Christian here washing the feet of a protester, maybe in an oil field. I got to understand that this is maybe a border person being trucked somewhere and a Christian parent or mother saying, listen, I get it. I feel your pain. You know, the famous, I'm with you, even though I don't agree with everything that's going on in your life. I do care about you. I do want to wash your feet. Why would this person wash that person's feet? Why would these two races come together, and why would one wash another's foot when they're clearly embroiled in a battle? Why would someone, a Muslim person, a non-believer, clearly anti-Christ, clearly somebody who is an enemy of faith beliefs, why would a Christian wash their feet? Why would this down-home boy stick their feet in a tub together, symbolizing that they're both washing each other's feet? Because Jesus didn't teach hate, right? He washed feet. And so that is really the story today. And I have so much more I want to share with you, and so much more I want to talk to you about. I want you to understand that when you hear this idea of washing feet, when you hear this conspiracy theory of what's going on in the NFL, I just shared it with you. It's just the truth. Christ has every right to be a marketing person on the Super Bowl. Christ has every right to tell the truth of his story, that he did not come here in hate, right? He washed feet. He gave of himself. And that is the example that we are supposed to do for others. I had my feet washed. I was very uncomfortable. Matter of fact, it's more comfortable for me to wash someone's feet than to have my feet washed, right? So I want you to think about that, because a lot of these images portray maybe somebody in an upper position washing down. And that's really not what's going there. These images show a Christian person witnessing to another person, this a person in a Christian format mindset saying, I want to serve you. It doesn't mean that they are better. It doesn't mean that just because every one of these images may be in a higher socioeconomic status and they're washing down. It's not that. It's this idea that we love somebody so much that we will serve them. And sometimes it's harder to actually let your feet be washed than to actually wash other people's feet. And I want you to understand that it's just as important that you let someone wash your feet than that you wash their feet. Jesus, in Luke 7:37-50, let a sinned, stray female wash his feet. He wasn't uncomfortable with that either. So listen, my friends, today's been a great show. And tomorrow we have a special guest star, right? I can't wait to talk to Gina. She's going to be on here. We're going to be talking about her podcast. We're going to be talking about her life and the people she's affecting. We're going to probably talk to her about feet washing and how she feels about it and the psychology behind it and how she feels it cleanses or doesn't cleanse. I can't wait to get her position on feet washing, on whether she's more comfortable getting her feet washed or washing someone else's feet. It's really an exciting thing we're going to have. I've been following this lady from afar. And she's just done an amazing job. She's called the Jixie Chick. And we're going to have a great time. And we're going to share her. We're going to promo her after this. And we're going to have a great show. And then Thursday, we're going to wrap up with the whole feet washing, the video, the reschedule, not the reschedule, but the review. And then we're going to kick it off for an amazing weekend. So thank you guys, everybody. And again, thank you, Hunter, for that amazing countdown video. And tomorrow's another day, a great show today. I just feel blessed. Thanks, you guys. Have a great day.